Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to Jessop's Journal, where we tell powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. First up is a woman that has a very powerful story, and quite honestly, a powerful voice. And so, yes, of course, she is going to be our musical guest.
I couldn't look into your crying eyes. I didn't want to see it.
Life is never boring, and I am positive that comedian Shayne Smith is not boring.
I had so many, and then I wanted more, and so they're just art. But a lot of them, like for instance, my throat is 3X's. It represents straight edge, which is a punk rock subculture that's all about sobriety.
Trisha O'Hare has some advice on how to get a better night's sleep.
Close their mouth, breathe through their nose, they get the first good night's sleep.
Comedian Shayne Smith is known by the staff at 7-Eleven as Mountain Dew Guy. Well, put it this way, he recommends not getting a scorpion tattoo on your face. You'll find out why.
Shayne, it is time to sign in, please.
Let's do it.
Well, today we have the caffeinated comedian, the tattooed troubadour, Mr. Shayne Smith.
Shayne, thanks for coming on to Jessop's
Of course,
Journal
happy
today.
to be here, man.
You know, you've been doing this comedian thing for a while. How in the world did you get into it?
I got into comedy because I couldn't sing or dance, and I had no other talents to speak of, and I didn't go to very much school, which, and by very much I mean almost zero,
Okay.
which people probably guessed. But yeah, I didn't go to school. I didn't have any talents. I was like, what should I do with myself? Comedy was one of the first things I thought of. Making people laugh seems fun. I went to open mic, and I was like, oh, I'll just do this.
Yeah.
And here I am.
How was the audience reaction that first time?
Oh, terrible. Horrible.
Yeah?
Yeah, so bad. It's never, anyone who does good their first time is in for, that's a bad sign.
Okay.
I feel like you shouldn't do good your first time because you're going to do bad later and then you're going to be really bummed out. Yeah, I did so bad. I remember there was zero laughter, and then I said a joke about how it was like a self-depreciating joke about how I can't date very well. And the jokes were so badly written and not anything like what I do now.
Okay.
And I remember there was complete silence, and then audibly one woman in the audience like let out a ha, like
Serious?
yeah.
Oh man,
yeah,
I feel
it's
for
like
you.
a pity ha. Or it's like she thought it was funny that I was terrible at dating. So it was really bad. It was so bad. Stuck with me forever.
So what was the first story that you remember that just really kind of resonated with people?
I don't tell it on stage, but I used to tell a story about a time a bully was beating me up in front of my friends, and he was much older. He was like 2 grades above us, and he had me in the snow, and he was punching me in the face, and I was laughing at him for punching me. And then he said, "What are you, stupid?" And I said, "I'm not stupid." And I had a book in my hand, and I held up the book, and I said, "I read." And all my friends at the time were watching me get beat up. They started laughing hysterically, and I was like, this is so worth it. Like, the beating was worth it for the joke. And even as a child, I was like, I'm killing it right now. This was cool.
Obviously, you've got a little bit of artwork on you.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Working on it.
I'm guessing that you guys ask this a lot, but is there a particular reason why you like to, because you're what I would call a collector.
Sure.
So, you know, you like it from the art basis standpoint.
Yeah.
But are there any particular tattoos here that actually have a meaning for you?
I mean, quite a few of them, and that's right that you call it collecting. Most heavily tattooed people call it collecting, which I'm almost weirdly, it sounds sinister, like I'm up to something. But anyway, a lot of my tattoos don't mean anything. I just really like them because I had so many, and then I wanted more, and so they're just art. But a lot of them, like for instance, my throat, is 3X's. It represents straight edge, which is a punk rock subculture that's all about sobriety.
Right.
So that's a big one. I've been sober and caring about the sober community and music and people, living their best lives and trying to be healthy since I was 14.
Wow.
So I've been sober for almost my entire life. So, yeah. People are often surprised to hear that one.
Show me which one would be the family motto.
This one says "Fight to the death." It's a family motto. This is Darth Vader, a very meaningful gentleman to me. He leads the Galactic Empire. I don't know if you're aware.
I'm fairly, yes. Yeah, I have lived on this planet for a while.
I'm guessing you get a lot of people asking, well, do you think I should get that tattoo or this tattoo?
Always. And it's never good. They're always like, do you think I should get the scorpion on my face? It's like, no. Don't. Why would you ever? Don't get a scorpion on your face, everybody.
I know you're a big fan of Mountain Dew.
I am.
Okay, so the caffeinated comedian. There's one story that you tell about, here you are walking into a place, and instead of seeing all the tattoos, you're known as?
The Mountain Dew guy.
Tell me about that.
So that's very funny. What's interesting is I've put that test to the real test and moved to New York, found a new 7-Eleven to go to, and they, without ever having seen my comedy, also call me the Mountain Dew guy.
Really?
Yes, that's very real. So I would just go to the 7-Eleven that was by my house all the time, and I would drink and people are going to cringe when they hear this, I want to say 7 or 8 double gulps a day. Oof. So I drank a lot, so much so that people were just like, are you okay? I feel like do you drink water? Are you dying? And so I would just show up, and then they would call me Mountain Dew guy. They'd be like, hey, Mountain Dew guy.
What was your biggest break?
It definitely had to be, I recorded a special with a company called Dry Bar, which is located here in Provo. And they had me do this special, and I kind of thought nothing of it. Like, okay, I'll record this with them, and they'll put it on their website, and no one will ever see it. It will never matter. Because as a show business person, you never assume whatever you're going to do is going to be this big hit or whatever.
Right.
So I did it, and it was like, okay, back to business as usual. And then it blew up. Like they recorded it, they put it on the internet, and then it went viral. And I have 80 million views or some crazy amount of views online, and that was the break. That was the one.
Is there a particular story that either you get asked a lot or means something special to you that you can tell us?
I worked for a nonprofit organization that serviced young kids that had developmental disabilities. Okay. So I worked with this young guy that had autism. He was 11 years old, and he was great. I worked with him for many, many years until he was an adult. Okay. But at this time, he's about 11 years old, and he goes, Shayne, I want to go to the Lego store today. And it was my job to assist him with living. Okay. So I would drive him wherever he wanted to go for the afternoon. It's his afternoon. I'm driving him to the Lego store. I'm having a very bad time. He can tell that I'm having a bad day. I can't remember, I was fighting with my girlfriend or whatever. He can see that I'm sad, and he wants to cheer me up. So as we're driving along, he's in the passenger side, I'm driving. He reaches over and he goes, Shayne, you're the coolest person I know. And then he stops and he looks out the window and he goes, oh, I gotta meet more people.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to Jessop's Journal, where we share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. This week, we're delving into the fantasy world. Our first guest is a New York Times best-selling author of the powerful series Fablehaven.
Initial inspiration goes back to probably Narnia. When I was a kid, I didn't like to read a thick book. and when I finally read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, it showed me that reading could be fun.
I'm positive that you have not heard a dinosaur roar. Academy Award-winning composer Chance Thomas just might make you think you have.
What if a T-Rex stuck his head through these trees right now and roared at me? And I imagined the nasty spittle and the smell and the heat of that and the fear and the adrenaline that I would feel.
But first, Brandon Mull. Brandon, we got to ask some warm-up questions for you here.
Sure.
Number one, do you like chocolate?
I do like chocolate.
Dark or milk?
Dark.
Okay. Sushi, yes or no?
Yep.
What's the funkiest thing you've eaten?
Muktuk, which is whale blubber in Alaska.
Wow.
Some native Alaskans gave it to me. It's horrible. It tastes like you took a pocket knife and cut a piece off a tire and you're chewing on it.
For people that don't know, what do you do?
So I write fantasy adventure novels. Probably my best known series is a series called Fablehaven, which is about a brother and sister whose grandparents are the caretakers of a secret wildlife park for magical creatures. That's a 5-book series. It's got a sequel series called Dragon Watch, which is the same main characters. All these adventures happening kind of like endangered species. There's magical creatures hidden around our world on these wildlife preserves.
How did you get these kind of characters? Because, I mean, was it as a kid, or what inspired this?
So the initial inspiration goes back to probably Narnia. When I was a kid, I didn't like to read a thick book. and when I finally read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, it showed me that reading could be fun. The big imagination of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was really appealing to me, and I started living those kind of adventures in my head and reading those kind of books. And it led to this storytelling engine in my mind that just kind of kept getting stronger over the years.
How in the world did you come up with the ideas?
The ideas are a mix of observation and daydreaming. I just kind of pay attention to the world around me, and the way my head works, I ask lots of what if questions. What if this happened? What if that happened? I like the supernatural, I like fantasy, and so when I daydream, I start putting giants into the whatever I'm seeing, or monsters or witches, or and that every now and then, a lot of the stuff I daydream about is really dumb, and like stuff I wouldn't want to share, like just because it's dumb, right?
Yeah.
But every now and then I stumble into something that becomes like a playground in my head, and that becomes what I share.
What were you doing before you were doing this writing stuff?
I went to school. I studied PR at BYU here in Utah, and I didn't really love it. What I wanted to do was write novels, and I was really worried that it wasn't practical, that it wouldn't work. And so I trained myself to do marketing writing, and worked writing marketing writing for about 5 years after school until I was able to get my first novel published. And pretty soon after that, I turned books into my day job.
So talking about jobs, what was your first paying job? I mean, you know, the one where you had to fill out a form.
Yeah, I was a chicken stacker.
Chicken stacker?
Yeah, I was hired by Tyson's Frozen Chickens to stack chickens when they had a big sale going on.
Serious?
Yeah, I'd go on site for the day, and I'd just stack chickens.
And where was this?
That was in Southern California.
Oh. Was there a point in time when you said, okay, this is my new job, that I am officially a writer?
I mean, like, I think I felt like I was officially a writer when I made my first sale.
Oh, okay.
When I sold my first professional book, I was like, oh, wow. I wanted to be a writer since high school. And I didn't know I wanted to be a writer, but ever since I was a little kid, I was a massive daydreamer. I just didn't know I could turn that into being a writer. I didn't connect the dots until I got a little older.
Yeah.
But by high school, I wanted to be a writer. And then I felt like I was a writer I probably felt most like a writer when I was able to quit my day job, because I was making more money writing than I was at the day job. That helped me feel like I was really doing it.
That kind of sounds like the right mark.
And that was about 15 years ago. And so like that's been a huge relief that I've been able to stay a writer, because it's not guaranteed you get to stay a writer, you know.
True,
at
good point.
least to stay a professional writer.
Yeah. So what was your I mean, I don't know, everybody talks about a big break. Was there one of those for you?
Yeah, I mean, probably the big break was the first editor that really believed in me, a guy named Chris Dickinson at Shadow Mountain. He saw something I wrote. He thought I had potential to do successful work. He didn't publish the first thing I wrote, but the second thing I wrote was Fablehaven, and he published that.
So he turned you down for the first one.
Yep.
Got Fablehaven. And if I remember right, Fablehaven has some pretty cool little awards and, you know, some notoriety.
Yeah, Fablehaven's done really well. We've got millions of copies sold. It's in like 30 languages. They're all New York Times bestsellers. Some in the series, like Dragon Watch is the sequel series, and that book 2 came out and was a #1 New York Times bestseller. I've written, I think, 17 New York Times bestsellers now.
All right, very good.
Which is, the bestseller thing is relevant, because that's how you stay employed as a writer, is selling books. You know, like the royalty you get as a writer is fairly small for each individual book. So if you don't sell a lot, it's not your full-time job. It's a side job, and I'm lucky. It's been my full-time job for a bunch of years.
Who believed in you before you believed in you?
I don't think anybody did. No one believed in me before I believed in me as a writer.
Okay.
And so I have to go to as a person, and that was for sure my parents.
Yeah.
You know, like my mom and dad, they really, they raised me thinking I could do what I wanted to do. You know, and that. It's funny because they raised me that way, but when I wanted to do writing, they were like, are you sure? You know what I mean? Because they were just trying to be good parents, and they knew that was like a kind of a high risk sort of thing to chase after. And but yeah, I also got some mentoring. A guy who gave me early mentoring in my career, who believed in me before most people believed in me, or who liked my stuff early, was Orson Scott Card, the guy that wrote Ender's Game. He read Fablehaven, he really liked it, and he gave me a lot of advice, a lot of mentoring. He helped me get my agent. He did all sorts of stuff that was above and beyond, just because out of the kindness of his heart and out of thinking I had some potential, I think.
What's the process in writing? I mean, do you have like an outline, or you just start writing and kind of go wherever? What's the deal?
Every writer does a little different. We sometimes say some writers are like gardeners, where it's like just plant a seed and see what grows, right? Give me an idea and let's see what grows out of this idea. Some writers are like architects who make an extensive plan and then execute the plan. I'm somewhere in between. I make a plan in my head. You know, some writers will outline stuff out or do a lot of pre-writing. My pre-writing is daydreaming. I kind of see a movie in my mind, and then I try to write that movie. Sometimes that movie in my mind will cook for years before I start it. I don't want to start it usually until I feel like I really have something, partly because I make a contract with the publisher and promise to deliver something of value.
Right.
And so I want to feel like there's something of value in my mind before I start.
How long with these contracts, and I realize it depends, but how long do they give you to actually get something done?
Not tons of time. You know, usually I've got under a year for each book. And often I'll make like a 5-book deal. Like I wrote a series called 5 Kingdoms, and I made a 5-book deal to write these 5 books. And then I had to, like, my talent had to cash that check, right?
Yeah.
Like I had to create something of value because they paid me pretty good money to write 5 books. And then I had to try to write 5 books that would make them happy. And if I failed to do that, I would not be able to get a good contract next time. You know, but by consistently delivering a quality book, they have faith in you and they'll pay you a decent advance to do the next one.
And what's the legacy that Brandon Mull wants to leave on this earth?
Oh, yeah. You know, if you're talking about the real legacy, I want my kids to know I loved them. I want the people who knew me to know I loved them. And I want them to know that I know God's real, and that He loves us, and that we can know Him. It takes a lot of personal effort, but we can know God and get help from Him.
That sounds like it's a big part of your life.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing. Professionally, I hope that people have fun with the books. I hope it inspires people to write their own books. I hope people play games inside the story worlds I've made. I hope people share it as families. Like. I see that happening, and that's professionally, that's my goal.
You've heard me say everyone has a story, and stories have power, and they definitely do. But the thing that I like to look at is objects, okay? Where do they come from? What's the story behind them? Because to me, objects with stories are treasures remembered. Imagine your great-grandfather playing his prize piano. Ashton Young says he can almost hear him and picture where the piano has been.
And his brothers and sisters actually load this piano up on horse and buggy. They'd have these big events where they would play their music.
The 1913 heirloom made its way down the family line and next belonged to Young's prodigy pianist, Grandpa.
You name the tune and he'd just play it.
And even though Young never knew those relatives,
my great-grandfather died in the 70s, and my grandpa died the same year I was born.
Stories of their lives are music to his ears, and why he recently had the heirloom instrument restored for his family.
I want my children, as they grow up, playing on the piano, that knowing that their great-grandfather learned to play the piano on this.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. So gather around the campfire, let's have some fun. First up is a gentleman that has a powerful story of following a dream. He also has a powerful voice, and so, yeah, his band, okay, dad joke alert, Cinders, is going to be our musical guest.
Just like the afternoon, but I understand.
Raymond Crane has a positive love of the Western lifestyle. He's also a gentleman that is keeping the handcrafted art of hat making alive.
My first hat that I ever did, only took me about a half an hour to design. I mean, it was really fast. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. This one took me 2.5 months to design.
Everyone has a story. Sometimes those stories are told through music. Cinders, they're a band that's hot. It's time for Jessop's Jukebox. Cinders is rocking it in the music video world. Their next music video is being directed by a guy named Josh that you may have seen on How I Met Your Mother. Wow. Now, the reality is, this one's about relationships, and they sometimes come to an end between this time of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. called afternoon.
You shattered me, but that's okay. There were pieces of me I hoped would fall away. There's an anchor between the carpet and couch. It's pulling me down. I've lost this fight again, just like the afternoon. I'm running over, but I understand. It comes with the same time. Just like the afternoon. I'm running over, but I understand. It comes with the same time. Grown now, but I'm still lost on how to deconstruct this box you built around me. I'm not sure what I've got left. My voice is trembling again. I've got to pick myself up. Oh, there's an anchor between the carpet and couch. It's pulling me down. I've lost this fight again, just like the afternoon. I'm running out, but I understand that it comes with the same time. Just like the afternoon. I'm running out, but I understand it comes with the same time. How long have you been holding your breath? Your face is turning blue again. Was it something I said? Shattered me, but that's okay. There were pieces of me I hoped would fall
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to Jessop's Journal, where we share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. Today, we're featuring artists and authors. Our first guest wields a powerful paintbrush.
The first was if Picasso painted a snowman.
Yeah?
If Da Vinci painted a dinosaur. And the third one is if Monet painted a monster.
Chris Dickinson creates inspirational stories through photographs.
If I can inspire someone to go out and tell stories of others, I believe that I've left my mark.
In between, children's book author Mike Agrilius has fun with words.
Can you find a pair of pears?
Photographer Chris Dickinson tells some incredible stories. And, oh, by the way, he's got a pretty nice hat. Chris, it's time to sign into Jessop's Journal.
Thanks, Doug.
You are one heck of a photographer.
Thanks, Doug.
How the heck did you get into that?
When I came out here and my wife and I were finally together, we ended up going self-employed. We started our own business, a dog training and photography business. And
okay, hang on. Dog
Sure.
training
Yes.
And photography. Okay. What, you're the puppy photographer?
Yeah. So that's how it started.
Really?
That's honestly how it started. It sure did. The way that I looked at photography at that particular point in time in our business was, this would just be a side hustle for me. It wouldn't be more than that. It would just, my wife would go out, she would set up the training, work with people in homes with their dogs. I could bring them into the studio, and from there we could just take their pictures, develop some side income as a result of that.
Yeah.
But what I quickly found out was, as an opportunistic kind of person, is that you can do more than that. And I also found that there was a much more creative journey in photography. That led to getting into the Western world. And
okay, here's the question. When you were a puppy photographer.
Yeah. I still am, don't get me wrong. There's still a fair amount, yeah.
When you started as a puppy photographer, did you have the awesome beard?
No, I did not have the awesome
I'm not even
beard.
sure what you would look like without how long you had the beard?
I've had the beard for just over 2 years, and it becomes, it becomes a landmark.
I guess.
Yeah, like you in hats.
Yeah.
I don't know what people would do with me without a beard.
How did you come to the realization that, okay, it started as a hobby? Was there a specific time where you said, this is what I'm doing?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It was when Doug Jessop invited me to be on Jessop's Journey.
No. You've been doing this a lot longer than that.
I have, yeah. My wife and I have been self-employed for 13 years now.
Wow, congrats.
We have no, I want people to know this, and I tell people this all the time. We don't have a safety net.
No.
We don't. We wrestle that alligator every day for a living. I don't have a side job that I run off to, nor does she. We both do this for a living. Let me kind of back up for a second, but now, after we realized that the photography was lucrative, before we were looking at it as just a side hustle, when we realized that we could actually make a good revenue stream off of this, then we spun it off to its own business. So now 100% I am 100% photography. My wife is 100% dog training, but we both support each other, and we both work literally back to back in the studio. When did I know that it was more than just a hobby? When I needed to make some money at it. Honestly, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but that was it. It wasn't something that, I always have a camera in my hand. It wasn't that.
There's this picture, there's this horse, okay, and that's the dust, and you can just feel the grime going. And then there's this guy, and he's just, riding a metal horse, and it looks like the metal horse from hell, and it's just like whoosh. What in the world was the setting for that?
Okay, so it's for a company called Black Bear Brand. I'm actually wearing their coat right now.
Oh, okay.
But he said, I really want to get a picture of myself on my 37, Harley.
Serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
He drives around with an old chopper and this old 37 panhead. He said, I really want to get a picture of me and me riding my motorcycle and a horse, and I want a dusty road. I said, count me in. In retrospect, everything that I do, in fact, a majority of the work that I do is from a very low perspective, shooting up. This one was much different. I had to get an elevated position and get them coming around.
Because I originally thought, I'm going, geez, getting a helicopter or something? I don't know how you got that shot, but phenomenal shot.
Thank you. Look, everything that I have photographed, every person, every horse, every motorcycle, every event, whatever it is, I can't, and I'll look straight at the camera, I cannot do what I do without people letting me do that, without people trusting me to execute.
Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we featured authors and artists. It's my honor to be able to share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories every week on television, as well as online at jessopsjournal.com. Everyone has a story, including you. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another entry into Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.